Welcome into the Instant REAX podcast. All right, are we I'm making sure I can be heard. Are we good?
I hear
Yeah,
you.
we're good.
All right, there we go. Welcome into the Instant REAX podcast for week number 2 of the high school football season. Mitch, I want to start with this. There are very few things in life that live up to the expectation when you hype them up. 2 of them tonight, the play on the field and the anchor sandwich from Fulton. Both of them exceeded the expectations.
So jealous that you got an anchor sandwich. Coach Lohr had hyped that up in the offseason, so I'm glad that it lived up to the expectations. But even without me trying that, I can tell you that week 2 exceeded probably our expectations across the board. What a night. I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm your host, Greg Armstrong, joined as always by Mitch Stormer, joined once again by Kyle Kampmeyer. Kyle, you were at the big game in the Northwest Upstate Illini, Lena-Winslow and Stockton. We'll get into it in a minute, but man, you had to have some fun tonight.
It was a blast. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of people out there, thinking I'm a fanboy of Lena-Winslow. They're far from the truth, but hey, that's what you get when you try to play the media game and speak facts to people. But great game overall. We'll definitely talk about when we hit that point.
All right, well, before we get into the Northwest Upstate Illini, before we get into anything else, I want to jump in and talk some Lincoln Land Conference. We had a huge showdown, a rivalry matchup in the Lincoln Land between Elmwood Brimfield and Farmington. That's where we're going to start with head coach of the Farmington Farmers, Toby Vallis. Coach, welcome to the Instant REAX.
I never thought I'd make it, but I'm here, so I've been waiting for years for the invite. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's only the second week we've been live, and
I know.
And
Anytime Adolphson gets something before me, I get jealous of him. So that's what happens.
There you go. Well, hey, Mitch, if I pull up the scores here, let's talk through the Lincoln Land results in the large side, and then we'll certainly get in and talk to Coach Vallis about their game.
He's going to have a lot to talk about in this one. I've got some questions for Coach tonight.
All right, well, let's pull up the scores. Here we go. Read through them.
All right, so on the large side tonight, you had Knoxville knocking off LVC 36-6. You had Macomb a 42-0 victor over West Hancock. Anno and Weathersfield at the crossover game, they win 49-10 over Bureau Valley. You had Illini West winning 34-15 over Decatur St. Teresa. And the game that we're going to talk about here, Farmington with the big 58-6 win over Elmwood Brimfield.
All right, well, Coach, we'll start there. What was your, thoughts going into the game? What was your thoughts on your prep this week? And you come away with a 58-6 win, and that's a convincing win over.
I just want to set this up because I don't think you know. Farmington scored 40 points in the second quarter.
All right. I did not know that. So, Coach, talk about the execution then. I mean, it's a big game in week 2, and you guys were certainly firing.
I think we stumbled around a little bit in the first quarter. I wouldn't say stumbled around. We played very well defensively, and offensively we're a little bit young. We've got a sophomore running back and a junior running back, and we had a freshman quarterback back there, and just had some miscues. We thought we were too smart and thought we could dial up these plays that we'd worked on this week, and when we went back to the old bread and butter, it took off. So shows you what we know.
Yeah, Mitch, what do you got for Coach?
No, I was curious if that quarterback was a freshman. That's really impressive. Certainly, your team looks a lot different than it did last year. You've got some returning names. Jack had a great night tonight, but you saw your sophomore running back have a big night last week. That first quarter was 0-0. What changed? What did you see? How did you come to 40 points in the second quarter?
So I think we came down the first, in the first quarter, and we got near the end zone with your interception. But then I think once the second quarter took off and we scored, it's just one of those things. I think, Todd's a good friend of mine, and I think it just snowballed on him. We scored. We got a quick 3 and out. We had a great punt return. We scored again, and then it just started happening real quick. So I didn't know that was all in the second quarter. That really got going then. So.
Yep. And it looked like you went to the air more. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we were on the headset. I said, I just don't want to run this thing at all anymore. But I mean, we still did a little bit, but yeah, I mean, that's what they were giving us. They had really loaded the box on us, and we tried to run early, and they were, run us down from behind some, stuffing us in the hole some, and then we just started airing it out. And the strength of our team is really those three receivers. So,
Coach, talk a little bit about, this team had some questions, some holes to be filled in coming into the season. Do you think 2 games in, you're finding some answers, or what do you like what you see here?
Yeah, I feel a lot better after tonight. Week 1, we were really, really fatigued. And we had some guys that were banged up this summer and probably didn't run them at all. I didn't expose them to game condition enough, probably, and I think that really showed, especially those guys that went 2 ways, and we have more that do that than usual. But yeah, I think, I told our kids this year. I said, is our ceiling as high as what we were last year? I don't know, but I said, with the injuries we had in the semifinal team, this team can be as good as that team we put on the field that day, which was a pretty damn good team. So I think we can be that.
Yeah. Mitch, you got anything for Coach?
I was just going to ask, we saw Elmwood Brimfield last week and in years past a pretty stout rushing attack. How about your defense tonight, really stopping that attack from getting going?
Yeah, so Caleb Plattenberger's my D coordinator, and he does a great job. More importantly, they own Manny's, which is really important to you guys up there. I know that. So, but he does a really good job for us, and I think he really challenged those guys this week. He took it personal, the points we gave up last week, and I think the kids love him, and they really responded.
Yeah. Well, Coach, having a rivalry game like this in week 2, do you like it this early in the season? I think us and a lot of fans think, man, I wish it was week 7, week 8, so you really knew how it affected standings. Where are your thoughts on that?
We have played Elmwood week 6 or 7 since I can remember. I've never played them this early. I'm all right with tonight. the way it ended up, but yeah, it definitely seems like it came early, so.
Yeah. Mitch, anything else for Coach before we let him go here?
I was just going to say, you go out of conference next week against Eureka. They played St. Bede tonight. I'm looking to see how that game ended up. It looked like Eureka was playing pretty tough. I can't find the final off the top of my head, but you go out of conference. What's the prep like going into a game like that? What can you take away from playing a non-conference game before getting back into the meat of the LLC?
I think we just want really good competition. Win or lose, we want to have great competition and really challenge ourselves for the playoffs. And that's, Eureka's year in and year out been a tough team in the area. It's good for us. So I'll tell you what, I'm looking at these scores though. We scheduled Seneca for next year. That might be a mistake. They're putting it on people. So
Eureka won 35-0 tonight over St. Bede.
Yeah, I think they were probably a little angry from week 1 and ready to go. So.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us, jumping on right away early on here. We really appreciate your time. And, hey, if you keep winning these type of ball games, we'll talk to you again. How about that?
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, Mitch, I say we don't waste any more time here. We got another coach on the line. There he is, head coach Nick Welch. And I believe, Mitch, if I've read the scores correctly, the only undefeated team in the Western Big Six, correct? United Township Panthers?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Well, there you go. So, Coach, you get the win, the close win in week 1. You get kind of the runaway victory here in week 2. Talk me through kind of these first couple weeks and what you thought going into the season and where you sit now, 2 wins in.
Incredibly happy. 1-0 today. That's all that matters. Obviously, a lot to clean up as we go. Things that I thought it was actually advantageous for us to get delayed by the Lightning last week. Able to make some corrections with film with the kids. On Friday, good. Luckily for us, and we did a better job. And then tonight, get a win. Everybody got in on senior night. That's always a thing. Came out, we think, relatively healthy. and to be in the position we're in, it's what's important. But there's still things that we got to continue to clean up as we enter Western Big East play. If a coach is saying they don't have things to clean up, I have questions. That's besides the point. It's like, it's on defense. You got to have good eyes, or the D line. The kicking game tonight, we're 8 for 8 on extra points, but some of our kickoff stuff, make sure the ball is getting to the spot we want it to get to, and then pre-snap penalties on offense. We're doing a lot of moving and shifting on offense, but we want to cut down on that because we know all those yards are going to matter. But very pleased with the run game through the first 2 weeks and our defense's ability to keep the opponent out of the end zone. And then special teams, we haven't really given up any big plays, and we've made plays, so that's really good.
Yeah. Mitch, you were able to kind of monitor this game tonight, and last Saturday when UT came away with that win against LP, you were kind of following along with that one. What do you got for Coach?
No, Coach, I listened to your pre-game interview with the boys at QC Sportsnet, and you were saying, games like this, you may not have game film. You don't have a lot to go off of. Certainly, we know the history of Western Big Six teams against, Chicago Public Schools. But what's that prep like? I'm curious to know. Certainly, you executed well tonight. Sounded like that team was making, they were lining up in the wrong spots or just making some mistakes. So how do you keep your team mentally prepared for a game like that?
Well, first time in the past, we've had at least film on them from week 1. So we've at least been able to prepare to some extent. And there's just a lot of turnover in the CPS. So we weren't sure, we don't know how many of their coaches are coming back, how many of their kids. And we really just kind of threw the whole kitchen sink at them this week. And, even front defense, odd front defense, cover 2 high shell, 1 high shell. And for our defense, we threw kind of some of the things that LP had success with us at, and then some of the things that we felt like we might see later on in the year, and then in addition to what we saw from Mooch in the last 2 years. So we threw a lot at the kids this week, and then what we just talked about was what kind of team do we want to be? Good teams play to their level of competition, and great teams play to their standard. And I know that's cliche, but if we want to be different than other teams in the past that have worn the black and orange, that it's how we prepare every day and how we practice. And we're at a spot right now where we're almost completely 2 platoon. So we did a lot of self-serve. We're our best first best. And I'll be honest, Wednesday was a pretty physical practice. And I really like to see that. And I thought we had good energy and good focus. And it's always good when the defense wins a little and the offense wins a little. And then you're cleaning things up in the special teams. We were by no means looking past this team. We literally didn't know. We beat them last year and they won 5 games in a row, and 3 of them were by 40 points. So, to us was did they get a transfer in? Did they have a kid that was ineligible? You have no idea, literally none. And not having film is always a little nerve-wracking, but took care of business, came out healthy, and, we're heading to Galesburg next week, and we want to enjoy this one until the morning, and we're going to wake up, we're going to move, we're going to fix some things on film, and then all eyes are on Galesburg.
Coach, at the end of last week after that win on Saturday, it felt like, there's an energy. There's an energy around the players and the coaching staff and the parents that were coming down on the field. I guess, for one, now that you've been here a few years and this program continues to build, what's it mean to be part of those moments? And do you feel like it's different compared to 3-4 years ago?
I feel like people are it hurts me to say this, but there's it seems like every year there's a little bit of, same old UT. And I know we haven't gotten over the hump of making the playoffs or whatever, but if you look at the body of work in the past couple of years, 4 and 5 is really good in the last 25 years. And that's not good enough for us. I want to start with that. Nobody's satisfied with 4 and 5 by any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of hard for our kids when people within your own school walls are kind of negative about the way things have been. But what I'm really proud of is these kids just don't care. They don't. They only care about, we talk all the time, never accept criticism for someone you wouldn't ask advice from, right? And what our kids have done is wake up at 6 a.m. like most schools do, and wake up and work out with an extra edge to them. And, once a week we put those 4 scores on the smart board in the weight room every Friday, if they're like, hey, today you want to go through the motions, remember this. Remember these scores where you had almost but not quite. And then the same level of intensity in the summer. But it's been really special. I think our community's done a great job supporting us. But everybody loves a winner. There's no doubt about it, right? And we haven't had a true winner, and not like a, hey, let's just make it to the playoffs winner, but like competing for a conference championship, hosting a home playoff. Like that hasn't even been in the conversation in a long time. And I think that this community's kind of dying for that. They want that. And we have so many good people that support us, and it shows with our fundraiser and how successful we are the biggest fundraiser in the Quad City area through Leading Edge and Brandon Sharp. So that tells you your community supports you and your kids work hard, but we got to go out there and earn it every day. And I think that's what separates this group is this senior class, like a little bit of skirmish this week, a little lack of focus, but overall really good. And I think the level of competition that we have in practice is different than in the years past. Because before, like 5 or 6 guys going both ways, well, you go 1D versus 2-0. I mean, the drop off is real. And at the same time, we don't want our starters taking all those hits. But if we go 6 plays of 1s versus 1s, it's just a different tempo and a different speed and their level of focus and attention to detail. And with all these guys, they're playing so much experience, right? Like the lights aren't bright. Now there's going to be moments where the lights get a little bright, but I think they understand and they know, like they've been there and they've done that. And hopefully our preparation continues to be what it needs to be. And it's football. You got to be healthy, man. You got to stay healthy. And that's the biggest challenge for any team. I mean, was it last night, on the first opening kickoff, a guy goes down, right? Like, and then Jason spits on somebody. You're down 2 guys out of 53 off the jump, and you haven't even played you haven't even played an offensive or defensive snap yet. So sometimes that's a little luck, but we're trying to control what we can control for sure.
Yep. Mitch, what do you got?
No, Coach, you might not pay attention to this. You might not care, but did I hear correctly that this is UT's first 2-0 start in 25 years?
I don't think that's true. We go 3-0 in the fall of 21 year. I do remember that. And everybody was really good. And then we lost 5 of our last 6. That was the year Matthew Kelly's sophomore year. He had a false positive in a COVID test right before Hillsburg. We lost 17-7, but they scored a touchdown with less than a minute left. And our quarterback tore his ACL in the beginning of the 4th quarter. So we ended up finishing 4-5, and we played Sterling week 9. And I think Matthew threw for like 400 yards, and we lost by 8. They hit a field goal late in the 4th quarter. But yeah, I mean, it's been a while since, even the COVID year we started 0-2. But we were 3-0 in 21 in the fall. If Joe said that, I'm going to make sure to give him a hard time. He's in the basement right now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to blame Joe Winkle on that nugget.
Yeah. Well, hey, Coach, I want to ask you about
Isaiah. He's got to be better.
I want to ask you about Isaiah Navarrete. He was, when you need plays on offense, he's there to make those plays. And, really impressed with, your decision to pass to him in a critical situation late in the game against LP. He's there to make the play, gets down in bounds to keep the clock running, just, talented and smart. Talk about him, his experience, his talent, what it means to have him, in your backfield.
I think that seems like an appropriate nickname for him. I mean, I'm just so proud of the man he's become. If you knew a little bit about his backstory, you'd be shocked at what he's been, and the way he goes about his business. I can't say enough. A captain. Had to start against Sterling as a freshman against a very good team like Kel Ryan that did not go very well. And then his commitment. He's been a track athlete every year in high school, and I don't know if he's really missed a workout besides a meet day in the morning. So his commitment to getting better in the team. He's obviously gotten banged up the last couple of years, but for a couple of games, a concussion his sophomore year and a bad ankle last year forced him to miss Quincy. But he's the biggest difference maker. And the things that people don't notice is how good he is in pass protection, which is like a subtle thing, right? But when we throw the ball and he's He literally pancaked the LP linebacker the other day and got a sticker for it from Coach Williams today, our O-line coach, and he was bragging to the O-lineman that he has many pancakes as some of those guys. But what I think has really set him apart this year is he's the hardest worker in practice, first of all. And when your best player is your hardest worker, that's good for the team. But the second thing is how patient he's become. So, like on that screen, as a sophomore and junior, he's like flying into the offensive line's back. Everyone in the world who can read their keys knows screen's coming. Where now, like, he makes it look like he's in pass pro. And then he's slow, and then he kind of flips his hips, and he's got great feel. He's got great awareness. And he actually said to me before that drive, Coach, if I bust one, do you want me to get down? And I looked at it. I said, well, 2, that'd be 8. We missed the PAT. I said, yeah, get down. Like, I don't want to give them the ball back. We knew if we got a first down, the game was over. But that was before 2 timeouts, and we took a timeout. So that was before 3 timeouts were taken. And he broke it, and I thought, oh, he's going to go score. Obviously, I don't think he would have scored, but they were going to knock him out of bounds, and he got down. And that shows how selfless he is. He doesn't care about how many yards or touchdowns he has. He just wants to win. And I think that's just like a true symbol of all of our seniors, and he's a great kid, and I'm hoping for a great year for him.
Yeah. Got anything else, Mitch?
No, that's it. Congrats, Coach, and looking forward to seeing you guys now that Western Big Six Conference play is going to be starting up here next week with Galesburg in Week 3.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for the coverage.
Hey, Nick, I need you to know you're the first Western Big Six coach to be interviewed live on the Instant Reacts podcast. So,
wow,
you beat out everybody.
I can't believe it. If Dazzo was here, he would have had Mike in here first. I know that for a fact. So the fact that you invited me, it means a lot. And also didn't help play Saturday, but it's fine. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for all you do. We love it. We appreciate it.
All right, go have fun
Thanks,
with the coaches. Tell Joe Winkley.
Yes, sir.
Tell Joe
I'll
Winkley.
tell Joe to be better. I got you. I got you, Mitch. I'll tell him. Thanks, you guys.
Coach. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, so there we go. 2 coaches in the books right off the bat here in the Instant Reacts podcast. Mitch, we are off and firing. Kyle's just hanging out. He's just, scanning X and figuring out what he missed tonight when he was walking the sidelines. But
he's catching up.
So much to talk about. We got another person waiting to be let in. Our conference insider from the Big Northern Conference, Tanner Wilhelm. He was at a huge game tonight. Byron and Dixon. So Tanner, welcome home. Welcome into the Instant Reacts podcast. Seemed like a great atmosphere there in Dixon.
Yeah, glad to join you guys a little bit later than anticipated. It was kind of a long one tonight, kind of a weird one up there. But yeah, awesome atmosphere. Byron unveiled kind of their new project for their stadium. And it's just awesome up there in general. For a small school, they have a great atmosphere. They do it good up there. They do it well.
Yeah. Well, hey, Mitch, before we get into talking about what Tanner saw tonight, what Kyle saw tonight, maybe we kind of just hit an overall refresh, go through all the scores, just give everybody all the scores they need, then we'll start doing some breakdown.
Did we show the Western Big Six graphic when Coach Walsh was here?
I'm not sure. We might as well start and do it again.
I don't think we did. We can circle back to the Western Big Six real quick.
All right, well, let's start. Yep, let's start on the Western Big Six. Let me pull that scoreboard up here. All right, there we go. Here's our Western Big Six scoreboard. Mitch, give us the rundown.
All right, as we just talked about with Coach Welch, United Township gets the 56-0 over Chicago Munchin. Galesburg with the big win. Second year in a row, they've beat Limestone 42-25. You had Geneseo getting the Cross River win 26-18 over Davenport Assumption. A great game in Moline. They defeated Sycamore 21-20 in overtime. Quincy gets on the winning side of the scoreboard this week, 33-7 over Alton. You had Dunlop defeating Rock Island 50-3. Alleman and Dwight were tied in the third quarter. Dwight pulled away to win 32-18, and then Sterling defeats Chicago Urban Prep 47-0 for their first win of the year.
Yeah, I mean, as we already referenced, United Township, the only undefeated team here in the Western Big Six, sitting at 2-0. But how about Moline coming up with a huge win there, 21-20 over a really quality program in Sycamore. This Maroons team, man, they play some tough schedule, and they come out. They find a way to win some ball games. That's a big one.
It was a 14-14 game, went into overtime. Sophomore quarterback Cason Ponder had his second touchdown of the night on a QB keeper. They kick the extra point. Sycamore ends up scoring, and they go for 2, and the Moline defense comes up with a goal line stand to secure the win in that one. Great call from Grant Dahlstrom and QC Sportsnet.
Wow, awesome. Really cool. Great win there for Moline. Great win for Geneseo, getting that bounce back win after their tough week 1 loss, going to, or having Assumption come to their place. They get the win there. Shout out to Galesburg getting the win. It's a nice win for their program just to get back in the win column. And man, Alleman battled tonight and really gave it, showed a lot of effort here against a Dwight team that was a playoff team a year ago. So I give a lot of credit to the Pioneers. Matt, I talked to Dazzo earlier. He was impressed with what he saw, and they just kind of ran out of gas in this one. But you got to like that spark.
Yep, absolutely. Do have some quick numbers on Quincy. Again, they get in the win column. Looked like Quincy, 493 yards of offense. Hunter Schuckman, their new quarterback, 15 of 23 for 267 yards and 3 scores. Cole Burgess had 5 catches for 143 yards and 2 scores. So shout out to our guy, Don O'Brien, there on scene with the stats. So good win for Quincy as they get a little momentum going into Western Big Six play.
All right. Well, before we go any farther, do we want to pivot to the Northwest Upstate Illini, go through the scores, then bring in Kyle to talk about what he saw tonight?
Yeah, Kyle's been waiting. So, Tanner, we're going to make you wait a little bit longer.
Fair enough.
All right, well, here we go. Let's pull up the NUIC scoreboard. There it is. Let's read us some of the finals here.
Okay, Forreston gets the win 50-14 over Dakota. You had Galena going out of state, or playing an out-of-state opponent anyway, defeating Benton 34-14. Dupec pulling away late from Fulton 34-21, and EPC blanked Morrison 22-0. But the big one that Kyle was at, the one that we had been talking about for months, really, 2 of the top 4 teams in 1A, and we have talked about Stockton and that this was going to be their year, but I don't think I would have predicted them to win tonight. I don't think I would have ever predicted how they won tonight, 38-14 over Lena-Winslow.
Kyle, you were there. You were on scene. Our conference insider, of course, for the NUIC. Kyle Kampmeyer from NUICfootball.com and NUIC All Access. Kyle, it's always great to have you in, but man, you saw a classic tonight. You saw one of those games where people are going to remember this one, right? They remember the night that Stockton got Lena-Winslow.
Yeah, it was an awesome game. First off, it's the first time Stockton has beat Lena-Winslow since the 2012 quarterfinals. So this was 13 years in waiting for the Blackhawks.
Fun story. I was at that game. I have video of that game. Amazing.
Man, I was there too.
Oh, look at that.
We didn't run into each other then, though.
No, maybe we did. We didn't know it, though. But anyway.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, great game plan for Stockton. It was like they couldn't do anything wrong. You know, they were able to get the run game going. They got the pass game going early. The biggest thing is controlled the ball, controlled the tempo, controlled the clock. And, you know, it was one of those things where at first you thought it was going to be a gut punch type of game. You know, I said it would be like 2 to 3 possession game for each team at halftime, and each team had 3 possessions at the half. But, you know, Stockton was able to go down the field, score first. Lena-Winslow quickly answered. And then it was pretty much all Stockton the rest of the way, outside of one touchdown that was, well, let's just say relatively meaningless at the point that it was scored in. But, you know, Stockton got huge contributions defensively, especially up front by Maya Luke, and the penetration that their line was able to get on both sides of the ball absolutely stifled Lena-Winslow to the point where they really couldn't do a whole lot. I mean, you just look at the plays that Stockton had compared to Lena-Winslow, and it's not even close. Stockton just dominated time of possession, ball control, everything that you would want that would lead you to that score separation the way it was.
Yeah. Kyle, I'll start with, what do you think the difference is between tonight's result and a year ago? Is it just that much more experience? I mean, it's tough to go on the road and win in the Northwest Upstate Illini, let alone going to Lena-Winslow on the night they debut new turf and a new stadium. Like, that is a lot of hype, and they went in there and they silenced the noise. It's impressive.
Well, it's one of those things, we talked about it before. Lena-Winslow, while they return a lot, they did lose some big key pieces last year as well. But let's give that credit to Stockton. They had a game plan that they were able to execute to an absolute T. Noah Larson threw 9 passes. 8 of them were completed for 121 yards by my counts, 2 touchdowns. Morgan Haas had a huge game at tight end, pulled in 4 passes for 72 yards and those 2 touchdowns. And then Eli Larson had 3 receptions for another 38 yards. It was just a good mix of run and pass. The guy that really stood out was Jack Mensendijk, and he scored the final touchdown and drew a penalty for his touchdown celebration, which was just complete emotion and euphoria running through. And all he did was spike the football, but it was like instant flag throwing. But you could just feel that excitement and that energy coming out of him. I mean, you might as well just stamped Pony Express on his butt, because he had, my gosh, what do you have? 23 carries for 144 yards and just got all of the tough yards where, it seemed like Lena-Winslow was definitely keying in on Detweiler. Carter Blair didn't get a whole lot of looks until later in the game, but he only finished with 5 carries for 25 yards. But Mensendijk was just the beast when it came to the run game for Stockton. And that's just it. We talked about it in all the preview shows, the 3-headed monster, and they were able to just do different things. But then when you got 2 tight ends in Larson and Morgan Haas, and seeing Noah Larson come back and be able to just throw the ball on the money all night long, whether it was touchdown passes, 2-point conversions, he was just on point all night. It was amazing.
Mitch,
Watch.
what do you got?
Kyle, I was just going to ask, post game, I mean, did it look like a euphoric celebration from Stockton? Was this something that, they came in standing on business? I mean, what was it like for Stockton after that game?
Oh, it was definitely a lot of excitement. They were chanting and, doing everything that you would think that they would do for a big upset. Everything but rush the field, of course. The new field has a lot of fencing around it that they couldn't get down onto the field. But, I saw one of the things after the handshake line, Stockton, of course, you got your fans all on the same side of the field. And I get it to a point because of the confined spaces. But Stockton was just trying to celebrate with their fans, and of course, they're being pointed to go into their half of the field rather than their side of the fans. But that's small stuff. But it would have been more fun if Stockton would have been able to just get more of that true involvement and participation from their fans in that celebrating moment. But you could see it early up. With like a minute left, as soon as they got the ball back and were able to go into victory formation, they were trying to pump up the crowd and do all the motions and gyrations. And yeah, it was clear euphoria. It was awesome. It was awesome. Great energy.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what it means down the road, but I think these are those nights that we always say, right? We'll believe it when we see it, right? We take Lena-Winslow until somebody can knock them off. And here we are. This is the night that somebody knocked off Lena-Winslow. Like I said, I don't know what happens down the road, but on this one isolated Friday night, these are those nights you remember, Kyle, in any conference, but especially in the NUIC. I want you to look at kind of big picture. This is kind of what makes this conference great, right? Is that there are these teams that they dominate and they become the headlines for years, right? I mean, it's gone. We go through the list of the teams that have done it, and it's almost every team. and then to have these moments where you feel like the momentum shifts, it's powerful. That's what makes this conference so good. The iron sharpens iron, right?
Well, that's exactly it. That's what we've seen. I mean, you go back to the 80s, it was Stockton, Stockton, Stockton. You go into the 90s, it was Galena, Galena, Galena. And then you go into the 2000s, it was Dakota, Dakota, Dakota. And really, then you had Lena-Winslow, EPC a little bit, Stockton a little bit, and Forreston for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. But the stakeholder's been Lena-Winslow for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And Stockton has had some success, but not to this level in a while. And we knew that this was going to be a Stockton team that could come in here and potentially do just this because of what they had coming back, the experience that they had. And then you take a look at, some of the things that we've put out on the social media, especially when the AP votes came out for that first preseason poll where Stockton was tied for number 10. It was like, the AP's going to know who Stockton is real soon. And I think the state's finding out who Stockton is tonight, finally.
Yeah. Kyle, I was going to say, a few years ago, we saw a similar game where Dupek defeated Lena-Winslow. Fast forward, Lena-Winslow goes on to win a state championship. So they kind of get the last laugh. Dupek won the conference. Lena-Winslow wins the state title. Now it's a little different this go around because Lena-Winslow and Stockton are going to both be in 1A. And unfortunately, the way the state divides it up, they're going to be both in the north. So I think we can all agree, we pray it's a semifinal matchup, right? That we get that far down the road. But we still got to imagine Lena-Winslow still has a run in them. I don't deny that we could see a repeat of that potentially down the road.
Oh, they'll definitely learn and grow from this. I mean, tonight's game really reminded me a lot of that Lena-Winslow Dakota rivalry in the late 2000s, where Dakota come in week 1 and just piss pounded Lena-Winslow, and that was right at the same time that we were starting to get a change in the guard, and then Dakota snuck in one last final hoorah run in 2011. But Lena-Winslow lost in 09, lost in 10. But come playoff time, they're able to return that favor. And, right now, Stockton has that one up, right? And, right now, they're the favorite now to win the NUIC, and it's only week 2. And they're going to have some big games coming down the road. But I feel that, and I've said it all year, these two teams are going to be the hallmark of the NUIC this year. You guys have talked about it as well, and I agree with that statement. Stockton put on a huge statement tonight to say hello, but yes, as far as Lena-Winslow goes, they will respond, they will rebuild, and keep going forward the remainder of the season. This is not over. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. Mitch, what do you got?
I think all the talk on Stockton, and certainly that's warranted. Don't forget, Dupek's 2-0, EPC's 2-0. So I think there's still some things to be sorted out in this conference. It's a great win for Stockton, and I agree. I believe they are the favorites, but can't be looking past EPC and can't be looking past Dupek, as has been the case the last couple years.
Yeah. Well, Kyle,
Galena's 2-0 too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the big thing. Stockton cannot let this be their Super Bowl. We hear that statement a lot. This can't be it for Stockton, but great warm-up last week against Benton Scales Mount Shullsburg, and then to come in here tonight and put it to Lena-Winslow, definitely huge.
Yep. Well, hey, Kyle, awesome. So glad that you were, here, able to tell us what you saw. So glad you were there, I guess, is more important, but amazing stuff. What else stands out to you from the results here in the NUIC?
EPC's win over Morrison. That was an 8-0 game at halftime, and I was talking to our friend Greg Pruis about it as well already tonight, and, he felt that there was a touchdown run that EPC had that should have been a fumble. It didn't happen, but Morrison hanging tough. Really, it was 14-0. EPC scored that final touchdown with like 5 minutes left in the game. So here we go again, another tough loss for the Mustangs. Do they have something in the tank that can continue to build here? Galena definitely got off to a 2-0 start. I thought that they would have more score separation than what they had against Benton Scales Mount Shalsburg. Really impressed with Fulton's rebound this week after last week's game, especially playing state-ranked Dupac. They gave Dupac everything that they wanted. And those two teams, when they get together, I don't know why, but it's always contests just like this. So, it's great to see Fulton do that. They have a big one next week with Forreston. Forreston obviously righted that ship as expected this week. And those two will face off next week in week 3. So that'll be a big game. Fulton definitely needs to come out with a win. If they don't, you can pretty much check them off as far as playoff possibilities. But it'll be interesting as we continue to move down the road here.
Yeah, in a loss, I was still impressed with Fulton. They battled Dupac today. Dupac looks tough. Dupac's kind of running, I'm not sure if you've seen any film on him, Kyle, but Dupac's kind of running a hybrid kind of wildcat offense where it's is it Russell and Doland kind of both taking direct snaps and really running the ball out of that backfield, and they're dangerous. Tony Z saw it tonight, and he was impressed by what they did. And there were flashes of Fulton, and they hung around just a little too much Dupac tonight.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We knew that having a quarterback. First off, it was Lucas Russo going to quarterback, and we saw that a lot last week in week 1 as well. And now Dolan doing it. I mean, it's just kind of different looks, trying to change things up to do that. But moving a running back to the quarterback position, you knew that they were going to try to do more of toss power and run power and, getting that quarterback more involved while keeping a spread type of formation so that they can open up more running lanes as well. And that's exactly what Dupac's doing. I mean, they're not overly big, but again, we talked about it for them in the offseason. They're tough up front, at least tougher than what we've seen in years past, and that's always kind of been their Achilles heel, even with all the athletes that they've had, is that their line hasn't lived up to the play of the line that the NUIC needs to have to find success. Dupac found success on athletes alone, and now they got the strength to go with it. And as far as Dermot Dolan, I saw Tony put in there that he runs like a bowling ball. We watched that against Oregon in their scrimmage in week 0, and guys just bouncing off of him. He just squares up great and can take on big hits and continue to move forward. And that's exactly what Dupac's going to need to do in order to continue to play tough in the conference, especially with run-heavy teams in Stockton and Lena-Winslow coming down the road too.
Yep. All right. Well, always fun every week in the NUIC. Kyle, you gonna stick around, listen to the banter? We'll bring you in. We'll keep you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
All right, perfect. Mitch, should we get into the big Northern Conference here and then talk about the big showdown between Dixon and Byron? Let's show the scoreboard first, and then we'll bring in our conference insider here. Let's get to the scoreboard. There we go. Go ahead.
All right. Yep, so here we go. The big one, certainly Byron and Dixon. Byron gets the 28-7 win there. Oregon, big win over Rockford Lutheran, 40-8. Stillman Valley defeats Genoa Kingston, 14-7. You had Winnebago falling to their out-of-state opponent in Clinton, 22-14. And North Boone got the win over Rock Falls, 21-14.
All right, well, a couple scores there I want to ask you about, Tanner, but obviously we got to talk about Byron and Dixon. So similar to Lena-Winslow, Byron debuting a new look stadium. Tell me about kind of what the atmosphere was, kind of the pregame and the hype surrounding this game, and then, kind of get into the game itself.
Yeah, atmosphere as I mentioned when I first came on, great up there. The new stadium looks awesome. They did the kind of the track around the field and then turfed around the track. It looks great. It's they have an awesome setup there, especially for a school their size. You going into it, you wouldn't know it's just a 3A school. They do it well. Obviously, this game was hyped up as one of the best matchups, if not going to be the best in the Big Northern Conference. With Dixon and Byron, Byron being top ranked in 3A, Dixon being top ranked in 4A, both ranked within the top 10. Obviously, after last year's matchup, the anticipation for this one grew even more in hopes that it would be a similar game. So everyone was amped up, ready to roll, excited for this one. Obviously, it came a lot earlier this year, so maybe a little bit sloppier. Some teams still trying to figure some things out as far as that goes. That's the one downfall of it being in week 2, but still awesome to get this type of game this early on in the season.
Yeah. So if it'll play, here we go. We actually have a highlight here. So this was early in the game. Andrew Talbert goes 70 yards. So Dixon had actually jumped out and kind of marched downfield a little bit, and then Talbert and and Byron respond there. Thanks to Byron Tigers Live for the video there. Tell us about kind of the beginning of this game and kind of how things shook out there and kind of the momentum shift when Talbert breaks away.
Yeah, so essentially, like you said, Dixon started with the ball and kind of drove down to the open with a big play. Carnegie had a big run right off the bat. Got down to, I think it was about Byron's 26-yard line, and then they kind of stalled out. Byron got the ball back, and then their first play from scrimmage, it didn't take them long. I believe that was their first offensive play. Talbert runs it almost 70 yards for a touchdown. So similar to last week against Rock Falls as well. It didn't take them long to get on the scoreboard and opened up 7-0. But the story of this one was essentially the big plays, really, for Byron. That's kind of what it came down to.
I want to ask you about Talbert because I feel like a lot of the headlines, for good reason, go to Caden Considine and kind of what he does. But man, Talbert is the perfect 1-2 punch. I mean, his athleticism at the quarterback position really, I think, is what separates maybe Byron from some other schools, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a great athlete, and he was kind of the story in this one, the big plays in Talbert. I mean, he had that touchdown run, a scoop and score as well, an interception that he returned to Dixon's 10-yard line that they eventually punched in a touchdown to finish that off as well. And he's kind of overlooked, I think, because of some of the other guys they have on this team, but he shouldn't be, that's for sure, because he's a heck of a player, absolutely.
Greg, can you run that one more time? I want to show you something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Watch the whiteout here on the bottom of the screen, 27.
Okay, yep.
He's off screen now.
Yep, he's coming back in frame.
He's 50 yards down the field blocking. Look at that.
You're right.
Shout out to 27 on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good catch, Mitch. That's great. Yeah, good stuff. So
Good football right there.
yeah, yep, absolutely. So I think that really was kind of what grabbed the momentum, and it seemed like, did you tell me, Tanner, you were there, did Dixon ever really get in it? Because it felt like they kind of, like, that Byron play kind of ran away from it right away.
Yeah, Byron kind of jumped out early. It was just kind of a weird game in general. If you look at the stats wise, it's probably pretty similar as far as yards. And Dixon honestly dominated probably the time of possession. And it's not like Dixon didn't have success. They were able to move the ball. But Byron was kind of in more of a bend, don't break mode, where even when Dixon moved the ball, they eventually would stall out. But a few big plays in the first half allowed Byron to get out to that 21-0 lead. And then it looked like maybe it would get away from Dixon a little bit, but they were able to come up with a stop, and then came out kind of fired up after halftime and marched right down the field, and Carnegie scored after putting a decent drive together to make it 21-7. And it looked like then it might be a little bit of a game. At that point, there was still only about 3 minutes left in the third quarter or so. And on that drive, Considine and Carnegie actually had a pretty good collision. Considine left the game with presumably a concussion and never re-entered. So, but then it just kind of stalled out. Both teams had put a few drives together and not much more after that.
Man, I mean, you love that, two of the best players on the field and Considine and Carnegie are battling each other, but you hate to see it go down that way. Certainly hoping for the best for Considine and for Carnegie. I mean, who knows, if he felt some of the effects of that, hit as well. But that's just two really hard-nosed, great football players just going after it. So you certainly hope for the best for them. But this, to me, feels a lot like, and we've talked about it going into the season, this feels a lot like Lena-Winslow and Stockton, that these teams are going to be in the playoffs and they're going to make some noise. They're two really good teams, and Byron got the win tonight, but I still think Dixon has a lot ahead of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't write Dixon off by any means. And even 28-7, it doesn't look that close, but it certainly felt a lot closer. I don't, obviously it's week 2, so it's hard to take away a ton. And I think going into this game, we kind of knew, Byron and Dixon are the cream of the crop in this conference. That's kind of the top 2 teams that everyone picked, and I don't think that necessarily changed anything tonight. So I think if we took away anything from this game, it's kind of, we confirmed what we already knew, and I still expect Dixon to have a lot of success the remainder of the year, as well as Byron, and then also get into the playoffs and make playoff runs. I think they both have the rosters, the kids to do so. So I wouldn't, just because Byron beat Dixon tonight, I wouldn't say that I don't think any less of Dixon than I would going into this game.
Well, I mean, being that it's only week 2, there's a lot of football left. So, yeah, certainly. Let's take a look at the big Northern scoreboard here. Tanner, what else stands out to you in the results?
Yeah, the Oregon score stands out. They've had a couple big wins off the bat. They're 2-0. They'll get Byron next week. Both teams will go into that 2-0. We talked about kind of the parity in this conference before, how that, after Byron Dixon, who's the next team that could, be in that 3 spot or surprise some people. And I think Oregon's definitely a team to look out for, especially with a 2-0 start and a convincing win tonight over Rockford Lutheran. Another team, North Boone, is 2-0 now after their win at Rock Falls. They've played a couple of very close games, but they're 2-0. They'll get St. Bede, I think, next week, so another opportunity for them to get to 3-0. And just look, I mean, again, we've talked about the parity so much in this conference, and, looking at the scores, all these games other than that Oregon Rockford Lutheran are within a possession or two. Other than that game and the Byron Dixon one.
Yeah, were you surprised at the Stillman Valley 14-7 over Genoa Kingston?
Yeah, actually a little bit. I know that game was in Stillman, but Genoa Kingston was another team which they played with Oregon pretty well. I think last week was 27-20. Played with Oregon in a good game there. And I expected, Stillman, you can never write Stillman out just because of the tradition there, how good they've been in the past, that type of thing. You never want to write them off. But a little bit surprised. I thought maybe Genoa Kingston would win that one. So that was a little bit surprising.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back here, boys, but I think all of us agreed that North Boone had a chance to be 2-0, maybe 3-0 with the schedule that they had to start the season. And here they are. Tanner and Mitch and myself, I think we need to give ourselves credit because we kind of called that in our preview show.
Yeah,
I don't remember specifically calling that, but I'll take credit for it. Sure.
I think we did, didn't we,
Yeah,
Tanner?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we talked about North Boone's schedule and how they had an opportunity to do so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You get Oregon and Byron next week, so both 2-0 teams in the Big Northern here. That should be good. Yeah, I've been impressed with Oregon back-to-back weeks. Certainly, Rockford Lutheran is proving not to be as formidable as they have been in years past, but Oregon was running away with that game early tonight.
Tanner, before we kind of, flip the script, talk about, looking at that Oregon-Byron game. If Oregon is to go and pull off an upset here, what do you think they need to do? I think they're a lot of a speed-based team. I think speed is their thing. I don't know how deep they are, but I mean, it's speed that's going to lead the way for them. What do you think they need to do if they want to compete and pull off an upset?
Yeah, I think you're right that kind of speed defines their team. But I think if they want to play with Byron, what they're going to have to do is match the physicality. Byron's a physical team. They've always been a physical team, and that's If they could match that, kind of the same, if you would have asked me what, Dixon would have needed to do tonight to beat Byron or to stay with them, I would have said, well, you got to be as physical as they are. And then if you can kind of just make them uncomfortable and take them out of their game, they want to play the physical ground and pound, wing tee offense type of style. But if you can put them in third and long, make them uncomfortable, make them have to throw the ball. Not that they can't, but I just don't think that's their preferred method of play. So if Oregon can do that's what they're going to have to do if they want to stay with Byron.
Yeah. One last thing, I hate to bring up injuries, but there was an injury in this game, and the only reason I bring it up is because I really just want to let the student athlete know that we're thinking about them and we're hoping for the best in whatever the situation is. But do you know who was the player?
Yeah, unfortunately it was Caden McGowan. It looks not great. A lower leg injury. That doesn't look good. I'm not anticipating that he's going to be back for this season or anytime soon. And just unfortunate because I think they were looking at him to be be a pretty big contributor to this team. Sounds like he's a great kid that does all the right things as well. I believe like a 3-sport athlete, and it was not good. It kind of. Unfortunately, that injury happened with about 9 minutes on the fourth quarter, and it just something you never want to see, no matter what side you're on. And I think it kind of took the sails out of the game, which also contributed to kind of just being a weird game. Despite there being 9 minutes left, it's tough to ask high school age kids to come back on and play after something like that happens. So
so certainly,
definitely thinking of him, and prayers and thoughts with him as well, because that's just an unfortunate situation there.
Yeah, definitely hoping for the best and hoping that the best possible outcome, whatever it can be, that he heals up and everything. So we're thinking about him because that's tough. You never want to see that. And like you said, it's hard for then the team and the players to kind of have to kind of flip modes and get back into game mode. So anyway, Tanner, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome to stick around and be part of the conversation as we move along here. But we might jump into the Three Rivers Athletic Conference, and I guess Mitch eventually will get back into the Lincoln Land because we didn't quite fill all of the small school scores. So anyway, Tanner, just really appreciate it. Thanks for your insight. Thanks for being there. I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, well, Mitch, let's pull up the scores from the Three Rivers Athletic Conference. Let me find my scoreboards here. Here we go. And there we are eventually. Maybe. There we are. All right. Give us the
this was great across the board here tonight. Start with Riverdale. 54-7 over Kewanee. I cannot wait for the stockpile gold on that. You had Mendota and Newman played close for a lot of this game. Newman pulled away late to win 35-18 over Mendota, so shout out to that Mendota team. They really played hard tonight. You had Mercer County getting the win 28-6 over Sherrard. You had Monmouth Roseville continuing to look great, 48-28 over Orion. You had Erie Prophetstown, another big defensive performance from the Panthers. They moved to 2-0, 19-6. But the game of the night, Rock Ridge scores 21 unanswered, beats Princeton 36-29.
Yeah, well, Mitch, let's start there with this Rock Ridge game. Tell me kind of the way this one played out, because I know you were following along. And when you get near the end, we have a couple highlights to show at the end of the game there. We have the two big plays that won the game.
Yeah, so, this game started with a bang. Rock Ridge got the ball first. Colin Schweigen takes a QB keeper around the end, 66 yards, seemingly untouched, right into the end zone, only for it to be negated by a flag for something. I don't know, illegal formation or something. They did end up scoring. They drove all the way down. They got to a 4th and 10. It was a beautiful pass from Schweigen into the corner. They take the lead. But on the ensuing kickoff, Princeton took it right back. So we were on from that moment on. And this is the first time, we heard from Coach LeMay with Newman last week on what Princeton's offense was looking like, running a lot of Wildcat with Casey Etheridge. It wasn't quite that, because they still line up in shotgun and Gavin Lantham is their quarterback. He's still in the quarterback position, but they both put their hands out. They both put their hands out like this. And so the center will snap it to one of those two guys.
Wow.
And it was
Okay.
really effective.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, they've both got their hands out. You don't know quite which way is going to happen. Gavin Lantham proved to be a really effective runner tonight. I don't know if he was in the mix much against Newman or if Newman's defense just shut it down that quickly, but they were running all sorts of, inside handoffs and misdirections and all these things, counters. It was great. It was fun to watch, and they were really rolling. They built up a pretty significant lead. Casey Etheridge was great tonight. Matt Now, who's listening to us, has him at 178 yards on the night. Man, he is so good.
Well, as Chase points out,
there it is.
He is the monster.
Yeah, but again, shout out to Gavin Lantham, their quarterback, because he really ran well tonight too. But then it was Colin Schweigen, it was Liam Steele. Liam Steele played unbelievably well tonight. Couple of touchdown grabs. He had one-handed one that he was diving. He had another one that he was diving. Just a tremendous effort from Rock Ridge tonight. Schweigen had 5 touchdowns. He had 6 last week, 5 this week. You had performances all across this game that are helmet worthy, but in the end, it was Rock Ridge again. They scored 21 unanswered. They scored with under a minute left. And Princeton's offense just isn't really, it was 4th and 15, and they ran a keeper with Etheridge. They're just not equipped for that situation. So,
Yeah.
But even before that led to Rock Ridge's game-winning score. Rock Ridge punted and pinned Princeton at the 1.
Yeah.
And so they ended up punting from the 4 or something. Rock Ridge has a big play on the first play of that possession, and Schweigen kept it on a 4-yard run. But is this it here? This pass?
So here we go. This is the pass from Schweigen to Steele.
Yep.
Just
look at this. Bang.
The throw and the catch is on the money. So that was after the punt had
so
set
that was,
them up.
So that was first down right after Princeton's punt, and then this was a couple plays later.
Yep. So Schweigen punches it in. Did he have 3 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns? So another 5 touchdowns for Schweigen on the night.
Yeah, so he's up to 11 on the year already.
Yeah. So those 2 plays right there to come back from the deficit they had, score 21 unanswered. They probably don't love it, but shout out to Tiger Central Live. They do a great broadcast, and they're
they're great.
Yeah.
I've been talking about them for years.
Yep, and they're letting us use the highlights here. They do a great job. So
yeah, this was a game that when you and I talked to Dazzo this morning on his show off the air with Matt Randazzo, we thought we would learn more about both of these teams. Certainly, Rock Ridge last week, playing against a Sherrard team that they should have rolled over, and they did. And you had Princeton with kind of that surprising loss to Newman. And for 3 quarters of this game, I thought, boy, what a difference a week makes for Princeton, because, again, the offense is a little goofy, but they make it work. And with Lantham and Etheridge, they just were rolling on Rock Ridge. But, the athleticism, momentum, it all got on Rock Ridge's side. So, I think Rock Ridge is the real deal in this division, and I still think Princeton's gonna put up a fight in theirs. But this was a great game, lived up to the billing. Glad this was the one that I watched, because it was very, very exciting from the start to the finish.
Yeah, I just showed B Wonders checking in. Princeton has been known to run the single wing, so maybe that's what that is. Maybe that's what they're looking at here. I didn't see a whole lot of the game, so I can't really speak to that. But
yeah, they run it all primarily out of shotgun. So whatever they did, it was effective. It's just Rock Ridge. It was Rock Ridge's night.
And hey, they love the hat, Mitch. Rock Ridge fans love the hat. So
said I would wear it if they won, and I didn't think I'd have to pull it out, but then then Rock Ridge was the one who pulled the game out. So kudos to them. Great game.
Yep. There you go. Well, let's look through. Let's pull the scoreboard back up and talk through what else we saw here, because there was some scores.
Riverdale.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I don't know if you've clipped it. There is a 99-yard touchdown run in our X feed right now from Riverdale.
Oh man, no, I didn't. Nope.
But this was, they just ran away with it. It was 39-0 at half or something like that. Like, again, I'm waiting for Brian Stocking to give us some information on this because I don't know when the last time Riverdale was 2-0. I don't know when the last time that they won by 45 points or whatever that is. So shout out to Coach Dierix. I picked Kiwani. I had this one wrong. I will not doubt the Riverdale Rams the rest of the season because they've looked good 2 weeks in a row. So congratulations to that program. They've been through the downs, and they have seemingly come out of that.
Yeah, and let's talk about, hey, don't doubt Erie Prophetstown anymore either, right? You better be picking EP because they've looked great in their first 2 weeks. They win 19-6 over Spring Valley Hall, holding another team to to single digits. Both 6 points for Kiwani, 6 points for Hall. This Erie Prophetstown team, Mitch.
Yeah, they came up with a big stop late to stop Hall's momentum. And Hall's played fine the past couple weeks. Just, they're going through a new coach and anything there. But, yeah, shout out to Erie being 2-0. I'll tell you what, Greg, Monmouth Roseville 2-0. Landon Montroy, 242 yards and 4 touchdowns tonight. So he's on helmet watch, that's for sure.
Awesome. We love that.
Again, shout out to Mendota. They played tough. It was close before Newman pulled away in the fourth, and then Murko getting their first win. So this was a fun night across the board in the track.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. No doubt about it. All right. Are we going to the Lincoln Land Small? We have not talked
Small
about
side,
that. Yep. All right. Let's find those scores, and here we go.
Okay, I think that Princeville game ended up 44-12, but Princeville gets the win regardless. We talked about Anawan Weathersfield looking good, 49-10 win over Bureau Valley. Havana defeated United 26-6. I think that was the final score. That was we were getting some help from there on our X feed. We had Rushville Industry going to 1-1. They beat Rova Williamsfield 40-8. And Stark County and A-Town were in a tight battle. This was 13-12 for all of the fourth quarter, most of the third. So Stark County coming in at 2-0. We had some questions about their youth and some inexperience, but now they're 2-0 after 2 weeks. So congratulations to the Rebels and Coach Nord and that whole program.
Yeah, I think that's a great win for Stark County. Anawan Weathersfield, impressive 2 weeks in a row, scoring 40-plus points. Bureau Valley's struggling right now. They got some things to figure out. That's a tough way to start the season.
And two tough teams,
Yep,
Bruce St. Pete really put it on them, but Anawan Weathersfield is going to do this a lot to teams this year.
Yeah, a nice bounce back win for Rushville Industry. We talked about that's a team that I think potentially could win that small school side of the conference, and they certainly showed up this week along with Princeville. Mitch, I'm going to say it here. I might say it again on our Tuesday show. Don't sleep on Havana. I think there's talent there. And I think that there's a path they could find 5 wins this season. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think they could find 5 wins this season for a team that struggled a year ago.
Okay. All right.
So,
I trust you.
All right. All right. Anything else in there, Mitch?
No, not here. Again, I think we're still learning a lot about the teams in the LOC Small. So, I think as we continue to move on and they get more interdivision games, we'll see some more separation there.
Kyle, do you have some 8-man scores you want to run through for us?
I've got some.
I do.
Okay, either way.
We'll let Kyle do it. We'll let Kyle go.
All right.
So we got West Carroll getting a big win, 56-0 over West Prairie. Amboy, man, they were up 40-6 in the first quarter, 64-12 final over Christian Life. AFC, we talked about it. We said that if they have the big game that they had last week, getting that win, they go over to West Central tonight. They come up short, 18-6, but Coach Kirby and his boys get in the win column with that game. Milledgeville ran through Abundant Life 46-20. And Polo defeated Flanagan Cornell Woodland 40-20. And then we got a couple games tomorrow. River Ridge has to go down to Bushnell to play Bushnell Prairie City. And I will be in Orangeville for a Saturday matinee against South Beloit, who comes into the game ranked number 8 in IFA. So that'll be a fun one there.
Yeah, tomorrow. Go ahead.
Did you say the Galva score?
Did not.
It was 62-12. Galva beat Peoria Heights.
That's a great win for a Galva program that's been pretty desperate for a win. So that's great. Good for them.
I haven't found a Ridgewood score either. Have you guys found one?
Did they play today or did they play tomorrow?
That I don't know. I thought they were playing tonight.
Yeah. Kyle, what game did you say you're checking out tomorrow?
Oh, I did see that. Alden Hebron won 38-24.
Okay.
Really?
That's a bit of an upset, yeah.
Yeah. So now you got Alden Hebron sitting at 2-0. They beat Orangeville and now Ridgewood.
That's awesome. I'll be in Orangeville tomorrow, Greg.
Okay.
South Beloit at Orangeville.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that one? South Beloit's 1-0, correct?
Yes. South Beloit is going to be the favorite. I actually ran into Hayden Schofield tonight, and he got a little banged up last week despite running for 252 yards, but he seemed pretty happy and excited to go tonight. But I'm very interested to see what South Beloit does. They have a lot of playmakers this year, and we'll see what happens. For me, in what I see Orangeville schedule building up, this is pretty much a must-win game for Orangeville to make the playoffs if they want to get back to that level. So that it's our game of the week as far as NUIC football is concerned. So that's why I'll be there. And I want to see South Beloit too, get some more information.
Yeah. An unknown opponent coming out of state, but impressed with another win from Milledgeville here? Yeah.
Abundant Life is new to 8-man. They switched over to 8-man last year. They're out of the Madison area. They lost in week 1, won last week in week 2. This is their week 3. They will play Orangeville in week 9 yet, too. So we got a little bit to go there for Abundant Life. But, Milledgeville, really, that game was a further separation in score than what the final was. But, Missile's looking really good so far out of the gates.
Missiles are 2-0. Polo, 2-0.
Polo's 2-0.
What do you?
West Carroll is 2-0.
West Carroll's 2-0.
I see Jeremy Castle on there.
Yep.
West Carroll, baby.
Well, let's talk through, they were, kind of jumped on the scene last year, and here they are sitting at 2-0. Are they maybe better than last year even, and, really looking to make that next step?
I do think that they're better than last year. We're going to have a big contest to see where West Carroll stands next week. They will play host to Polo on Friday, and that's going to be a 5 o'clock game. So I'll be pulling a doubleheader next Friday. I will be in Mount Carroll for the West Carroll Polo game, and then I'm heading over to EPC for their game. I don't remember who they play off the top of my head, but I am pulling a double since it's going to be so close, and it should be a lot of fun.
Love that. We love that. So Tanner, what you got plans? Any weeks coming up here to catch a game? I know this was the big one. This was the one you had circled.
Yeah, this was a big one. The Byron Dixon one. I'm sure, I'll get to some more. I'll have to check the schedules and stuff to see the Byron Dupac, that non-conference one. That should be a good one as well to check out. Kind of a decent crossover matchup that year and kind of a preview of Dupac joining the Big Northern next year. So that'll be fun. Another one, 2 teams that have kind of struggled off the gate, which isn't unexpected necessarily. Rock Falls, Winnebago. I think they play week 5 or 6, maybe it's week 6. That might be a decent opportunity for those teams to get on the right track as well. And then that, kind of where we're at right now with both teams starting 2-0, that North Boone Oregon game, whenever they meet, that could be a decent matchup as well, just as far as playoff implications, that kind of thing.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, maybe might pull up some scores here one more time, just go through the list, and then I think we might be good. So let's I'll start. Mitch, I'll read through some scores for you. I'll give you a little break here.
Okay.
So we'll go back. We'll recap the Western Big Six. You got United Township winning 56-0. They go to 2-0. They're the only 2-0 team in the Western Big Six. You got Galesburg getting the win 42-25 over Bartonville Limestone. Geneseo gets the Cross River win 26-18 over Assumption. Moline gets the win in overtime 21-20. They had to deny a 2-point conversion attempt from Sycamore to grab that win. Nice win for the Maroons. You got Quincy getting back into the win column 33-7 over Alton. Rock Island falls to Dunlap 50-3. Allman battles against Dwight but falls short 32-18. And Sterling gets the win over Chicago Urban Prep 47-0. Mitch, I'll hand off to you. You want to read some Three Rivers scores for us? Recap here.
Yep. So again, Riverdale with the big win, 54-7 over Kewanee. You had Newman pulling away late from Mendota, 35-18 to go to 2-0. Murco gets their first win, 28-6 over Sherrard. Erie Prophetstown moves to 2-0 with a 19-6 win over Spring Valley Hall. With Roseville's 2-0 after defeating Orion 48-28. And the big one of the night was Rock Ridge. They moved to 2-0 with a 36-29 win over Princeton.
Let's get into the Big Northern. Of course, we talked about Byron getting the win 28-7 over Dixon. You have Stillman Valley getting into the win column 14-7 over Genoa Kingston. Oregon gets the big win. They're 2-0, 40-8 over Rockford Lutheran. That sets up a matchup against Byron next week. That should be great. You got Winnebago falling to Clinton, Wisconsin, 22-14. North Boone moving to 2-0, 21-14 winners over Rock Falls. Credit to Rock Falls, though we didn't really mention it a whole lot early on. Credit to Rock Falls, a program that struggled. They opened the season with Byron. That's an uphill climb to begin with. But they fought in this one. They fought hard, falling just a touchdown short. All right, we'll briefly recap. Let's see, the NUIC here. Dakota falls to Forreston 50-14. Galena gets the win by 20 over Benton, Wisconsin, 34-14. Dupec gets the win on the road at Fulton, 34-21. Lena-Winslow falls to Stockton. Stockton goes on the road, gets the win 38-14. And you had EPC going on the road to Morrison, getting the shutout win 22-0. So the Wildcats now sitting at 2-0. All right, Mitch, should we get into the Lincoln Land, and then I think we'll
real quick, Kyle. It looks like whether Lena would have won tonight or not, it looks like next week will probably be a Lena-Winslow loss, just because there's going to be a huge size difference. I think Rochelle's really good. If Lena is sitting at 1-2, I mean, what's that outlook look for them the rest of the way out?
Well, I mean, obviously at 5-4 they would make the playoffs, but if they finish the regular season, let's hypothetically speak, they finish 7-2. They're probably gonna be sitting anywhere in that middle range of seeding, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they'd be on the bubble of having a first round home game or going on the road in the first round. And if let's hypothetically speak, they get the 8. Stockton gets a 1 or 2. If Stockton were to get a 2, they'd be on opposite sides. But if they got a 1, they'd be in the same side, meeting up most likely quarterfinals.
Yeah. Man, can you imagine? Can you imagine being a playoff team in 1A, excited to get that home game, and then your opponent's Lena-Winslow?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it happen before, right? I mean, 2021, like you said, Lena-Winslow went 7-2 and walked their way to the state title game. So
give me a home quarterfinal game in Stockton. You kidding me? What more could you ask for?
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Stockton's always a fun place to go watch a football game. You guys know that.
Mitch's favorite.
That's right.
All right, it is one of the best.
Yep, it's great. Yep. All right, the Lincoln Land. Go ahead, Mitch. Take it away.
Knoxville defeats LVC 36-6. You had Macomb defeating West Hancock 42-0. Farmington puts up 40 points in the second quarter en route to a 58-6 win over Elmwood Brimfield. You had Anawan Weathersfield defeating Bureau Valley 49-10. And Illini West continues to win 34-15 over Decatur St. Teresa.
Nice win there for Illini West. They continue to play well, even going back to last year. It really seems like they're riding some momentum here. Macomb gets the shutout win against West Hancock. West Hancock puts up a lot of points, game in and game out, and that's a nice, impressive win. I think Macomb looks really good this year. Farmington looks good. Elmwood Brimfield took a tough one tonight. I still think they're a good program. Knoxville gets the win there by 20. So,
Illini West ran for 431 yards tonight.
Wow. There you have it. All right, we just briefly went through them. We'll recap one more time before we wrap up here. Princeville gets the win 44-6 over South Fulton. Rushville Industry gets in the win column 40-8 over Roval Williamsfield. Havana gets the win 26-6 over United. Stark County gets the win 13-12 there against A-Town. And like we said, Anawan Wethersfield gets the win over Bureau Valley. So there we go, Mitch. There's the scores. There's the breakdown, the coaches' interviews, the reaction from our conference insiders. Have we covered it all for week 2 of the Instant Reacts podcast?
I hope so. I don't remember being busier than I was this week. And that's a credit to a lot of people who were at games. Tanner, you sent in text updates. We had Andrew Myers sending updates from Dupec and Fulton. I had a whole host of people online tonight sending updates, and I'll have that full list of people on our regular show to make sure to give a shout out to them because, I had to charge my phone twice. I had notifications every single second. So, again, shout out to everyone who is interactive with this thing, and it makes it a lot of fun, and I'm glad people enjoy it because it's a lot of fun to do. So, shout out to our listeners and our viewers and everyone watching right now.
Yeah. I got to give a quick shout out to Andrew Myers. Got to meet him on the sidelines in Fulton tonight. And he's a new sponsor brought on board this week for, First Wealth in Clinton. So glad to have him on board. Glad to meet him. Also got to see one of our favorites, Jeff Parsons, out at Fulton as well. So, and of course, shout out to the Anchor Sandwich. I got an Anchor tonight, and man, that thing was delicious. So
Did you see the steamboat?
I did see the steamboat. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't active when I was there. Fulton scored every time I wasn't there, and I caught a couple Dupec touchdowns.
Just because they didn't score doesn't mean that thing couldn't have been active. You could have just sat in that thing and took it for a spin.
That's true. I suppose I could. I didn't ask.
Make it active.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, no, overall, great night. Like you said, Mitch, thank you to everyone first of all, thank you to our conference insiders here, to Kyle and to Tanner for, giving us the info and being kind of our eyes on the scene for some of these games that we can't get to. And thank you to everyone who follows along on X or who listens every week and helps us out, gives us scores, people who've been contributing in the chat throughout the night. That's been a ton of fun. Shout out, thank you to Coach Nick Welch from United Township, Toby Vallis from Farmington for jumping on at the beginning of this episode. I think each week this is, it's just going to build bigger and bigger. We're really excited to kind of build this thing up and make it a community that people can show up to and get the recap. And I know there was a couple different people, maybe Matt now and a couple other people that, were going to use us as their drive home from the game. So we love that. That's exactly what we're here doing. So Mitch, shout out to you because the scoreboards are killing it, and I know it's some effort to get them ready to go by 10:15, but they look great.
We were looking so good, and then games just keep getting stretched out, and again we're getting so close to that 10:15 time, and I think I got them done by 9:45, but I thought we were going to be in better shape than we were, but some of these games ran a little late tonight.
Yep.
Not as bad as last week.
Exactly. So. All right, well, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who listens, who follows along. This will do it for the live Instant Reacts for week number 2. You can catch Mitch and I on Tuesday morning. We'll be back with our preview of week 3, and we'll look back a little bit, give you some of the numbers on what we saw, some of the totals from week 2. But here we go, boys. We're kind of hitting that middle stretch of the season where, the contenders and the pretenders start to separate themselves. So this is what we love about it. So, again, thank you to everyone who listens. We will talk.